Alright, so I decided to make a second video, get this crazy hair out of the way, and I decided to do it in my bathroom because my lighting in my bedroom is awful, and it kind of looks like I'm wearing a shirt this time, so, I mentioned in my last video that I wanted to talk about, favorite person, or FP, and what that means in a relationship with someone that has borderline personality disorder. Today, I've been thinking a lot about my FP, who is no longer in my life at this point. And so I just wanted to talk about it and hope that or in hopes that, I don't know, it'll help me a little bit. So, I have some quotes and some things about FP from the internet that I'm going to share with you. So, people with BPD often experience intense attachment to a single person. They determine our mood, our identity, and our self-worth. They are called our favorite person. I find it difficult to explain to anyone who doesn't have BPD how a favorite person relationship works. I often have people tease me or make comments about how attached I am. They don't understand how I feel like I wouldn't be able to function without that person. It's intense, but it's a part of living with BPD. I'm not crazy or obsessed. I just need a little bit of extra help sometimes. So, for me, when a relationship ends, I really struggle. I struggle with letting that person go. I struggle with how I feel about that person because of my splitting and my different thoughts. I struggle because in my brain I'm like, you're my FP. You're that person that was supposed to be different than everyone else. That wasn't supposed to leave like everyone else. And maybe sometimes they are different. And maybe sometimes they aren't, but sometimes people with BPD, they push people away. And I'm sitting on the floor and this hurts, sorry. They push people away, and they maybe won't ever get the chance to know what that could have been because of their untreated BPD. Attention, praise, or love from an FP results in intense feelings of pleasure, joy, comfort, and attachment, while perceived rejection, criticism, or disappointment causes intense dysphoria, self-injury, or suicidal thoughts. The intense positive effect resulting from spending time with an FP can plummet into despair as soon as the meeting ends. So I've experienced this a lot. When I was with my FP, I would feel complete and whole and safe. And even if we were fighting, or even if things weren't good or it was toxic, just knowing that person was there and they were gonna battle with me and weather this storm with me. Just thinking they were gonna be there. You feel safe, even if the relationship isn't great, or maybe it is, but your BPD is flaring up and just, I don't know, ruining things at the moment. But with your FP, you feel that sense of belonging, and finally that person isn't going to leave until they do. But when I've met up with my FP after not seeing her for a while, after meeting up, after we part ways, it's like full-on panic attack, self-harm thoughts, suicidal thoughts, just I go from this place to something so low because I'm like, oh, that person left again, that person that is supposed to be here. I don't know, it's so much deeper than a romantic connection, I feel like. So, attachment to an FP is outside of conscious control. This is often the most distressing aspect of an FP. The individual with BPD does not choose who they would like their FP to be. Rather, they might attach to very different individuals with very different roles. An FP might be a teacher, a friend, a celebrity, I guess it happens, or a romantic partner. To the individual with BPD, this lack of control worsens their sense of autonomy and deepens their sense of emptiness. It feels as though we are riding a roller coaster of our attachments at the mercy of the highs and lows. This element increases risk of abusive relationships, as it is extremely difficult for an individual with BPD to successfully end a relationship with their FP, even if they are experiencing abuse. Here are a couple of quotes, 5 quotes from people with BPD talking about their FP. So, number 1, having a favorite person for me is the constant shifting between idealization and devaluation. When anything changes, the tone of their voice, body language, etc., the shifting only goes between the two extremes. It's like I'm the happiest when they tell me they love me and they are there, but I have self-harming and suicidal thoughts when anything changes. Number 2, it's like being in love without the romantic wishes, platonic love. You might not even know the person very well, but you still idolize them so much. You create your own image of who they are, so for you, they become exactly who you need. Number 3, it's dangerous. It's needing someone so bad, it's physically painful when they leave. It's apologizing for every tiny thing because you don't want to give them a reason to leave you. It's picking fights just to make sure they'll stay. It's awful. Yeah. Number 4, they're like my drug. Whenever I get their attention, I'm happy for a while. But when I don't, it's like the world's falling apart and I don't know what to do. Number 5, a favorite person is the calm port in the storm, the low energy vibration person that can level you out just by existing. Sorry. An FP can also be the one who we hold up high and try to emulate. The FP is the one who makes us feel happy. Also can be the one who we lash out at and feel the worst about it because we don't want them to leave. Retweet, not retreat. But yeah, I can definitely agree with all those. Many issues may arise when a BPD relationship is ending. Because people with BPD have an intense fear of abandonment, a breakup can leave them feeling absolutely desperate and devastated. Even if a relationship is unhealthy, a person with BPD can often have trouble letting the relationship go. Yeah. Like, all of this resonates with me. I just think back, like, I've always had an FP. Like, when it couldn't be my parents, when they wouldn't acknowledge me. Like, it was always my teachers. I always got the grades. I always, I was in all of the things, student council, any kind of sport, anything music. Like Super Bowl, which is like mathletes and like stuff like that. Like, I did everything. Everything to prove that I was worth something to my FP at the time. And at some times, I think I had multiple FPs. But now as I'm getting older, I'm just realizing that my FP is the person that I'm in a relationship with. And it's hard because someone with BPD, they form that intense emotional connection with their FP. And sometimes the FP is someone that is good for them, and sometimes it's somebody that's not even compatible for them, but they just latch on to that feeling of being needed and being wanted. But no matter what the situation is, that's still that person for them. And when they leave or when we push them away, it's like we don't exist or we have no worth or no value. I've had people ask me, like, why do you react the way you do when someone breaks up with you or someone leaves you? And it's just like, it's not me just being crazy. It's me reacting to old wounds. It's me feeling the abandonment from my parents and from everyone in my life that's ever left or rejected me. It's just so much deeper than that relationship ending. We feel like we lose a part of ourselves in that person that was there for us, that person we could always turn to and talk to without fear of judgment. They're just gone, just like that. It's hard. BPD is triggered, and the whole thing, revolves around the fear of abandonment. And that's generally what happens to us most of the time. We get left. And sometimes it's our fault. And sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's a combination of BPD and other things from the partner. But relationships are hard in general. But they're so hard for people with BPD and those pursuing people with BPD. They can be good. And so I want to end with this because I don't want to make BPD sound like it's this terrible thing and that no one can love us, because that's not true. Okay, so given all the difficulties that exist in BPD relationships, why would anyone start a relationship with someone with this disorder? First, it's important to remember that despite these intense and disruptive symptoms, people with BPD are frequently good, kind, and caring individuals. Often they have many positive qualities that can make them great romantic partners some of the time. Some of the time. No, most of the time. Furthermore, many people who have been in a romantic relationship with someone with BPD talk about how fun, exciting, and passionate a BPD partner can be. We have a lot of work to do. Relationships are difficult for us, more difficult than the average person. But it's worth it. It's worth it to stick it out if the person with BPD is trying and wants to get better. They just need that support. And when that support is yanked from them, it's just starts us all like back over again, I guess, or it feels that way. And of course, we need to be able to be alone and do this on our own. I get that, but everyone needs support. Everyone needs a person that's going to be there, and not leave. So tell me about your experiences with your FPs. Is it normally a romantic partner? Is it a family member, a friend, a teacher? Do you have multiple FPs at a time? How is your relationship with them? Are you splitting a lot with them? Just tell me about your experience with your FP or FPs in the past, and how you and that person have grown together, and if you found that person that has stayed. And I don't know, I need to hear some good, positive love stories come out of this. So thank you for watching. It's 2:20 in the morning. I need to go to bed.